Drew, what's up, man? It's really weird to see you indoors. I gotta say, I expected that I'd be seeing you like take this particular interview like on a hike through the mountains or something like that. Not
You
so much.
know that yeah, that would be awesome. But most of the places we go, we don't have cell service, which
Oh
is
man,
the win.
that
So
that's like a
yeah,
benefit.
yeah, it's a huge benefit.
That's huge, man. That's awesome. Well, hey, let's give the audience some context of. I know how many kids you have, but let's go through them, and then I got a follow up question for you right after you share with us the names and ages of your kids. So go for it.
Yeah, so my first and foremost, I've been married for 6 years, 6 years next week, or
Congrats.
16 years, excuse me. So yeah, I've been married for 16 years. My wife Carissa, and we have four kids. Olivia, who is 9, Maverick is 7, Thea is 5, and Hendrix is the little guy. He's 3, and we actually have one on the way. So number 5 will be due in December. So uh,
Wow.
that that was exciting and shocking all at the same time to find out. But
Whoa.
yeah,
Man. Did you guys have like a little too much fun on Memorial Day or something or
I'm not really sure. We couldn't tie it back. I mean, we just yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I'm joking because if you would have, it would have been more of like a February baby because
Yeah.
that was our final fourth was, we were always really careful. And then on Memorial Day, like back in 2015, my wife and I were like, we were just partying with the neighbors and we had a few too many beers and we went home, had some fun. And we were, like I said, we're very careful and I wasn't. And my wife was like, wow, like, I thought we were being careful. I was like, oh, we'll be fine. There's no way. Like, what are the chances? And sure enough, like boom, pregnant. And I'm like, oh crap. So
Yeah.
we make a joke now that if we wave to each other in the hallway, it's same with you guys, maybe. You just wave. Oh, look at that, we're pregnant.
Yeah, well, uh it's interesting. We truly we love kids. We feel like they are a gift, and we struggled when we first got married to get pregnant, and
Same.
then it was so it I think that really created a more a love and a different perspective on why kids are so much more important, since it not only does the Bible talk about how important they are, but also it's just when you struggle to have them, it makes it more special.
Same. We struggled as well. It took us 3 years to have our first, and we needed some help with that first one. And then after that, the final three were a bit. Actually, there were four more. There weren't. We lost one back in 2015, but we or 2014. But we had no problems after that. It was kind of crazy. So,
Yeah.
what the question I have for you, because I knew you had four, and when you said you've been married for 6 years, I was like, wow, he is just banging these kids out like super fast. So,
Yeah.
first of all,
16,
congratulations, huh?
16's a little bit different.
Yeah, 16 gives you a little bit more of a window, a little bit more time. So, congratulations on 16 years coming up.
Thank you.
My question for you is, what is the difference in the reaction when you used to tell people, I have 3 kids? And then when you move to four, like what has been their reaction? Because for us and for many, the reaction is much different.
Yeah, so for 3, you always get the comment of, "Oh, you're moving to,
Yeah.
man-to-man defense doesn't work anymore. You're moving to zone." And um, you know, but I'd say the number one comment that we get is like, "I don't know how you do it. I can
Yeah.
barely handle 1 or 2."
Right.
And I think, our my comment is always, "Well, we don't. I mean, we do it. I don't claim that we're successful, but I mean, they're all still alive and they're happy, so that's always a blessing."
I love that, man. I love it. I have so many like kind of like one liner follow up, like just sort of interesting comments back when people say things like nothing derogatory. I'm just trying to make them laugh. But like when I tell them that, so when we had three, they're like, wow, like there's always that wow, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
And then when you have four, they're like, wow, like it's a very different wow. And for us, like, you have a mixture of girls and boys, we have all boys. So, like, when I say and they're like, "What are they, boys or girls?" And I'm like and I just pause for a second, I smile, I'm like, "4 boys." And then I just pretty much say at the same time, dude, they're like, "Wow." Like, dude, right? I talked to one guy in the gym, yesterday. He's got 2 boys, 2 and 1, and, he knows what I do, he sees me all the time. He always comes up and talks to me, and he's like, "Dude," he's like, "I've been thinking about something." He's like, how do you manage 4 boys, man?" He's like, I got 2, and I don't even know, like, what day it is sometimes." He's like I looked at him, and I just smiled, and I was like, "Dude, you got a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old." I was like, "You're in the heat of it." I was like, I was like, "It's 18, 16, 10, and 8." I was like, "I'll take those 4 boys at that age over a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old because it's actually, in my opinion, way more work."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's what everyone said. We usually do a pretty good job at separating out activities, and last week was kind of the culmination of a ton of events. My son does BMX, my daughters swim, my oldest daughter swims, then my both my daughters do ballet, and they all had like major state championships and races and productions all within 3 days of each other last week. And we were looking at each other like, we will never do this again. Like, this
Yeah.
is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
Can't say I blame you there, bro. I cannot
yeah.
say I blame you. That's tough, man. But I'll tell you, man, like and I'm sure you're probably the same as I am. Like when people like I joke with people, they're like, "How do you do it?" And I just smile. I'm like, "I don't know, but if you figure it out, let me know." I was
Yeah,
like, "I don't know
exactly.
how we do it. We
Yeah.
just do it." But you know
Yep.
what? You know what's really interesting though? I don't know about you if you had this did well for let me just ask, did you guys know you were gonna have, 4 or 5 kids? Or was this just like
We
just
had
kind of
always
like
talked about 3 to 4 is
okay.
what we had talked about. So and then yeah, we're just playing it by ear.
You are. I'd say a little bit more than that, but but the question is, and I never thought I'd say this because we've got a 6-year gap between our second born and our third born. So we actually thought we were done at 2. And then our third born actually our third and fourth came as a surprise. Actually, third, fourth, and fifth came as a surprise.
Mm,
But you know, I will tell you when people ask me, they're like, "Dude, like, how do you do it?" And I tell people this, and I truly mean it. And I got to be honest, before 4 kids, I was saying the opposite. I was actually fighting with my wife. I was like, "I will not have more than 2. I won't. I won't do it." I
yeah.
was like, "It's just too much," right? And like I was kind of even like somewhat of a jerk about it. Like this was right before Dad Edge, and then right when I started Dad Edge, I don't know, we started getting closer, and then we had the third. But like the funny thing is now that my kids are 18, 16, 10, and 8, like, dude, I actually love the energy, the loudness, the chaos, like the absolute craziness, the schedules. Like, I actually love being busy and going to all their events and all this other stuff. Like, because and here's what actually doesn't sit well with me anymore. And to be really 100% transparent, I'm really scared of the next stage. Terrified, actually, like more terrified than when I was having kids. And I'd love to get your opinion on this. My oldest is 18. He's got 1 more year of high school left, and this summer, he's been doing a lot of camps. So he's been doing band camp, no jokes, but he's the drum major this year, so he's leading the whole band, so he's gotta go to band camp, and then he's doing wrestling camp because he's a wrestler too, and he's been gone a lot, and the thing that I don't like is all my kids not being here. It's actually really f my wife jokes with me, she's like, "I think this is harder on you than it is on me," like, the kids, like, leaving or my 18-year-old and 16-year-old, they're always a friend. So we have the 2 littles right now. And I'm like, God, like I miss having all my kids here. Like this is really hard for me. It's harder than I thought. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So we yeah, I mean, I think that the hardest first of all, I think the hardest part is, when they're younger, you truly are in the middle of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you are 100% in the middle. And there's a quote, not a quote, like a statistic that I heard once, that you only get, if you look at from birth to 18 years, um, by the time you get to their 18th birthday, you've already hit you've already hit like the majority of your time that you're ever going to have with them. I mean, and so you can break it down like your entire kid's life. And I don't remember what it is. I want to say it's like 900 something Saturdays that you get with your kids. Um, I'd have to I'd
That's
have to go
interesting.
I'd have to go back, and so you look at it from that perspective and you say, okay, that seems high. I think 900 seems high. But I mean, when you look at how many days or how many weekends you get with your kids by the time they graduate high school and move off, it makes it it puts it in an entirely different perspective. And so I think that's something that really started to become a focus for us is, and we'll get into this here in a little bit with Equip, but how can you be intentional with your kids in the time that you have with just a few weekends or a few days or whatever you might have? What is the best way that we can be intentional with our kids? And it's harder when you have 4 or 5 kids, because it's that much harder to be intentional with them. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's just an entirely different spin on it.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. It's really interesting, and I think this really goes along with your mission, because I think I truly mean this. I think your mission is super important. The Equip Outdoors, and for those of you guys who don't know, go to equipoutdoors.org. And we're going to be talking about this throughout the interview today of why this is important. But I'll tell you what, man, you host these amazing events, right? For men and fathers, or I'm sorry, for fathers and sons and fathers and kids, I should say, and also for couples, right? And also just for men. But even really that focus on, I've taken my kids, my two older ones, on rites of passage and guided things like this. And dude, they are absolutely core memories. Like you'll go to your deathbed and always remember
Mm.
that experience. And the other scary statistic that I've heard from another podcast guest, Todd Herman, was 80% of our one-on-one time with our kids is gone by the time they're 12. So like there's tremendous urgency to do things like this, right? Because you're going to turn around, take it from me. You're going to turn around tomorrow and suddenly you're going to have an 18-year-old under your house and you're like, how the hell did that kid get to be 18? Like, and where did that time go? Right. So
Yeah.
I'd really like to start with, you're a busy guy. You have a full-time job. You have 4 kids going on 5, been married for 16 years. What was the motivation behind creating this amazing experience for other families to get outdoors and to experience and to adventure together?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, and I think honestly it goes all the way back to to my dad and the time that he spent with me. He was a pilot, so he flew and
Oh,
traveled,
wow.
a lot.
Yeah.
And so the time that we got to spend together, the time that I remember the most was always the time that we got to spend outside. And that he was really intentional about spending time with me, whether it be fishing or hiking or doing scouts trips, or whatever it might be. And that really, the best conversations that my dad and I had took place, outside in the outdoors, away from all the crazy, right?
1,000%.
And so, like, it really goes back to that. And then fast forward to when I got to high school and college, it was, I would go on trips with friends, and the more I would talk to people, they would tell me that they had no idea, like, no idea how to set up a tent or how to read a topo map or understand a compass. And something that I thought that I grew up with, that I thought was just common and normal, commonplace knowledge, right? I quickly found out that that wasn't common. And a lot of guys didn't have dads that either for whatever reason, didn't have the time, the knowledge, the skill, the interest, whatever it was. They just didn't have that. And, my wife and I started talking, and it was, hey, what if we created an opportunity to take those, as many of those barriers out of the way, to set these dads up to be successful, these men up to be successful in the outdoors with their families, with their friends, their kids.
That is so cool, man. You're right about the conversations and the connections. They're unforgettable. There's something about when you get out of nature, get out into nature, get off the grid, get out, get away from the distractions, and it's just the adventure, the nature, the weather, the scenery that just brings out just these amazing moments with your kids. But I
Yeah.
love that you guys how long have you guys been doing this for now?
So we launched in August of 21. So we're coming up on 3 years now.
3 years. And how many events have you done in 3 years?
We average about between 5 to 8 trips a year. So we're
Wow.
yeah, so we're right at 21 trips is what we are at today. Um, and that's from everywhere between Arkansas to Grand Canyon to Colorado, Wyoming. And we're adding a couple more this year and next year as well. We're hoping to go global next year. We'll see.
You guys do the Grand Canyon?
Yeah, this past January we did a spontaneous. We had someone call us up and say, "Hey, I've always wanted to do the Grand Canyon in the wintertime. Would you guide that trip?" And I was, I sure, let's do it. I've done it in the spring, but I'd never done it in the winter. So I had 8 days to plan a trip, and then off we went. So we did a rim to rim to rim of the Grand Canyon in January.
What was that like?
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, it's entirely different to go there. You go there now, it's going to be 130 degrees down at the bottom. We were there, it was 20s up at the south rim. It was 65 down at the bottom. It was 15 on the north rim. We had a big snowstorm come in on the climb out on the last day. So we actually got up and left at midnight on the last day to try to beat the snowstorm. It dropped, you know,
Jeez.
15 to 20 inches of snow on us on the climb out. I mean, it was awesome. It
Wow.
was a good time to teach a lot of the survival skills that we teach about
Yeah.
hypothermia and what do you do when you get wet and all of that. So it was a really good trip though.
That's aw and when you say you guided that, was that father-son? Was that couples? Was that
That
just
was
guys?
that was just guys. Yeah.
Very cool. Dude,
Yeah.
that's awesome, man. What do you I know you offer a variety of these, but what are the ones that you offer? I know we mentioned some kinda softly, but I'd love for you to just
Yeah.
kinda go down the list.
Yeah, so we started out with fathers and sons, and that we really target that age 6 to 14 for those entry father and son trips. And then we offer father kid trips, and that's just for there's a lot of girl dads out there, right?
Yeah.
And or guys that like me that have both. And so we wanted to create an opportunity, a dad being engaged and involved with his daughter is just as important as it is for him to be engaged with his son. And so we started offering those as well. So father son, father kid, couples trips. That's a net new one for this year. So this November 15th, we'll be heading down to the Buffalo National Forest in northwest Arkansas, north central Arkansas. We'll be spending 3 days doing about 25 miles. Elevation is fairly minimal down there, but it's probably all of our father son entry level father son father kid trips, couples trips. Those are all in that north central Arkansas region because in my mind, it's probably one of the hidden gems of the Midwest. Beautiful country, not very popular, which is awesome because you don't see a ton of people on the trail. But there's abandoned cabins and huge waterfalls and 600-foot bluffs and everything that you get to see when you're out there, which is awesome. Um,
Wow.
and then we offer more like intermediate and advanced trips, which are 5 to 7 days, where we go to the Lost Creek Wilderness in Colorado. We do the Maroon Bells Four Pass Loop, which is probably one of the most photographed areas of Western Colorado.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and then we go up to the Tetons, and there's a range up there called the Bridger Teton Range. It's right in between the Snowies and the Wind Rivers, and then the Tetons. And we do that's probably my favorite trip. Where we'll be up there for about 5 to 6 days. You pack everything in, and it's high alpine mountain trout fishing. Where
Wait, you trout fish too?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You hit over 35 miles, you'll hit about 13 lakes. And we'll do catch and cooks and make trout tacos every night for whoever wants them. But that's probably one of my favorite trips.
When is the next one?
So the Wyoming trip is actually in September. So
Okay.
it's coming September, and there's still spots open.
Wait,
So
so this Wyoming trip, is this the one that goes to the Tetons?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. And it's September. September what?
September. I think it's September 9th. It's all on the website. So, yeah, if you go to the website, it's on there. I can pull it up real quick just to remind myself.
That is amazing, man. How many people do you normally take, on these at once? Like how big is the group usually?
Yeah, so we have the ability to take up to 13 people on a trip. We could do more if we have enough time. So I'd usually do a 4-to-1 participant to guide ratio, because we really want it to be educational as well. So we have to do that 4-to-1 in order to make sure everyone stays safe, but also make sure that everyone that we have that time to get with the individual participants and ensure that they're learning something, right? Because our ultimate goal is that they get outside, they get to see nature in the mountains differently. And if they're just following behind someone in front of them, it's not the experience that we want to leave them.
Right.
So yeah, so on the September Wyoming trip, we'll depart on September 8th. We'll be coming back on September 15th. And we'll have about 5 days up in the mountains.
Wow.
So, and you catch rainbow, you catch brookies, there's some tiger trout up there, browns. And it's an unforgettable experience, definitely.
That is unreal, man. And I notice here, so just on your site, 'cause I'm on it. So, the base price is 1,500. Is that per dad and kid, or is that per person?
So on the Colorado and Wyoming trips, those are individual prices. Yeah.
I mean,
So
that's still insanely reasonable for that many days and that type of experience. Like that's insanely reasonable.
and we're an all-inclusive service, so we provide all the gear plus the food to go on the trip. So I mean, you're responsible for getting there. You're responsible for those. I'm based out of Kansas City, so typically will drive to locations, and I'll have, I mean, if people want to ride up there with me, then they just share gas with me. But other than that, yeah, no, we try to make it reasonable, and the goal is again, we want to make sure we have to cover our costs.
Sure.
We got to cover our maintenance of the gear, and every trip I go on, it takes about 2 to 3 days to clean everything and
Oh yeah.
get it reset back up for the next trip. But yeah, we try to make it as easy and as simple to get involved as possible.
And on a trip like that where you're going through the mountains, you said the youngest age a kid can be is how old?
So on the Colorado and Wyoming trips, those we usually unless someone has previous experience, those are more for like the intermediate and advanced trips.
Yeah.
So for Colorado and Wyoming, it's generally, we're flexible based off of experience, but it's generally around that 14, 15 age to in order to do one of those trips. Arkansas is where we really focus on those 6 to 14-year-olds. My 7-year-old son has done 2 trips down there. And I mean, it's nothing for him to spend, for him to go do a 15-mile trek with us. And he loves it.
That is really cool, man. Yeah, I could see like how maybe a more advanced kid would want something like that. I'm sitting here thinking like my two teenagers would just they'd be all over that.
Yeah.
Let
Yeah.
me ask you this, like, talk to me. So we obviously talk about logistics, right? Here's where we go, here's what's included, and all that good stuff. But here's where I want to go next. I want you to tell me a couple of stories, from experiences that you've seen with either couples or dads with their kids, where like it was an incredible moment that probably wouldn't have happened otherwise had they not been on this adventure.
Yeah, definitely. So, there was it was a couple years ago. We took a leadership team from a church out, and there were 12 guys. And we were just kind of getting started, and several of them had literally never camped or hiked before in their lives. Um, and in those, I remember several times in those conversations, back to the beginning where we started our conversation today. Some of the best times of these trips are the conversations that you get to have with people. I mean,
100%.
when you get up into the backcountry and you've done something challenging, um, there you have a whole different perspective on your life, on what you're doing, why you're doing it. There's something called a 3-day effect, which we can get into
Yeah.
later. You're smiling, you know about it,
I
right?
do. I totally do. Actually,
um,
like not just the 3-day effect, but like even if you book this thing out, I don't I got my just keep going. You just keep
yeah.
going.
So, but I remember there were a couple guys on that trip that, I remember them saying, they're like, Drew, I would never do this again, because they're like, I'm not an outdoor person. But they said, there's no way I could have ever experienced this without going like with you. And it
Yeah.
wasn't because we did something awesome, it was because they were able to fully disengage and just be, which there's something really big about that, right?
There is. Yeah.
Um, and so, I mean, I think that was something that was really, it's kind of the opposite that you don't really, when you're talking about what your business, you don't tell people about how people say no, they never want to do it again. But I mean, at the end of the day, not everyone's an outdoor person, right? And that's okay. Um, and then one of our recent father son trips, we had a guy come on a trip, and he said that he had been really struggling to connect with his son. He was a very, very busy guy. He owned 2 different businesses. His son was a little bit more quiet. And so he was just really struggling to connect. So this was kind of a somewhat of a last ditch effort in order to create a connection with his son. And so we met, we got out there. There was a group of, it was 7 or 8 of us. Um, we got out there, and he came to me almost in tears on day 2, telling me that he and his son had had one of the best conversations that they had ever had in their life, um, in their tent the night before.
Not
And
surprised.
he's like, I want to hug you, but this would be weird in front of everybody. So I'll just shake your hand and say thank you. And I mean, I tell you what, Larry, that it's that type of stuff is that, why we're doing this. He's like, I
Yeah.
don't have to, he goes, I don't know how to do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
But he goes, you're making it to where I can have that time with my son, share in these learned experiences, create these memories. He's like, this is way better than going and doing a weekend at Disney. Not that I'm dogging on Disney, but I mean, it's, he was talking about the experience that they had was so powerful. And, that's just always stayed with me.
I'm not surprised to hear that at all. Can I just share a couple of perspectives on like what like a guided thing like this has been
Yeah.
experienced for so I've done experiences like this with my kids and they've all been somewhat or fully guided, right? So like I we hiked up back in 2019, we hiked up 14er in Colorado. We hiked up Mount Quandary with my boys. And that was really really cool. It was kind of a rite of passage, and it was a weekend trip, and it took us like 12 hours to go up the mountain and back down. But I had a local friend of mine in 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 Colorado who's a firefighter paramedic, and he loves to hike, he loves to mountain climb and all that. And I also had a group of guys with me that I was doing a retreat with that weekend. And I'll tell you, there's something that is incredibly like stress free and foundational when you've got somebody who knows really what they're doing and their sole purpose is to make sure that everybody gets through safely and everybody gets to where they need to go, right? Because
Mhm.
when you can release that type of stress, onto that's going to be somebody else's responsibility. I mean, obviously not fully, but somebody else knows the way, somebody else knows what we're doing, and if we run into trouble, they know what to do. Like that is you don't your mental and emotional bandwidth when you're on a trip like that with your kids is released, to
Yeah.
some degree, and you can have conversations like that. You're not worried about like, where's the trail going tomorrow? What if we hit weather? I'm not really sure what to do. Do we have the right gear? Like all this other stuff that would be rattling around in your mind, other than the most incredible and the most important thing that's at top of mind, which is connecting with your kid,
Yeah.
or connecting with your significant other. And when you have a guided trip like that, when you have, especially if they've done the route, you're like, you know what? All I have to do really is follow,
Yeah.
and all I have to do is enjoy and connect and do what I've done to do what I'm supposed to do, and this is why I came here, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I did a guided rite of passage with my 16-year-old a couple years ago, and I was with a group of 6 other dads and their kids, and dude, it was incredible. And I'm so used to hosting my own events, and for someone else to take the reins and all I have to do is participate and involve myself in the conversation, the connection, the exercises. There's nothing else like it. Like, there really is nothing else like it. Like, you can really just enjoy, like you said. I love that, man. I'm not surprised that that kinda thing happened, a beautiful connection and conversation, and a conversation that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about, like, your couples retreats? I'm really curious about that one.
Yeah, so that's new for this year. And one of the things that we are um one of the things that I really want to do with, I mean, I can tell you the vision. I can't tell you, what the experience has been, but my wife Carissa and I, we love spending time in the outdoors. We love hiking. We've hiked Rainier together. We've hiked stuff in all over Arkansas and Colorado. And I think the goal with the couples trip is to be able to create that opportunity. It's honestly, it's very similar to a father kid, father son experience where we can create that opportunity for that couple to again get as much of the planning stress out of the way and be able to just have an opportunity to enjoy the beauty of where they're at, and meet some other couples, meet other couples that are maybe interested in similar things, and really again back to the goal is going to be that end of the day, those experiences and those conversations that they get to have. I'm working on some probing questions and stuff that we can pass out to them, and just really create opportunities even during the day, and challenging, hey, I want you guys to go share something that you're walking through right now. And that's going to be tough, right? They they tell you you'll find out how strong your marriage is by, if you go get in a canoe and, go canoe down the river. Um, you know, uh, and so I think there's always going to be that question about, are we going to, is it going to dig up any issues in the middle of the backcountry. But I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Oh man, that's cool. Yeah, I kind of wonder, like, I'm kind of like chuckling about, like, as far as like what my wife would be like,
Yeah,
on something like that. Like, cause she's like, I love the outdoors. Like, I mean, I feel like and I'm sure I'm speaking your language, man. It's like I come to life in the outdoors. Like, put
yeah,
me camping and put me in the woods and stuff like that. And I just thrive out there, man. I'm just like, oh my
yeah,
God, this is my place, right? My
yeah,
wife, on the other hand, she's like, she is not a dainty girl by any means. And you can't be, I don't think, and raise four boys. I mean, she grew up on dirt bikes and dune buggies. Like, she is a
yeah.
I always joke with her. I was like, "You're a guy's gal." Like, she puts her hair up in a ponytail, yoga pants on, she'll kick your ass in a workout, punch you in the arm, and then go have a beer with you. But going camping, she's like, "I'm just not a camper." I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "It's the bugs. It's the bugs. Like, I'm terrified of the bugs." I'm like, "They're not that bad. It's not that bad."
Yeah.
But when you have beautiful scenery like what you do, like, I'm willing to take on several bugs to go hike through the mountains, so it's cool
It
stuff.
it's an entire I mean, day hiking is fun, but it's an entirely different experience when you get out, you know, 2 days away from the day hikers. Oh, you got a visitor.
It's
Uh,
summertime, so it
yeah.
it's there is, for those of you guys who are watching us on YouTube, we're about 36 or so minutes into the podcast, and you'll see this really creepy, like, these hands behind me, and you don't know what's happening, but this is what happens to my podcast studio in the summertime. It gets
Yep.
bombed every time. So,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah. Um, but talk to me about, what is your mission and your goal behind this? I mean, like, if you were to fast forward, 5 years from now, and let's just say by that time you've done 100 of these things, right?
Mm,
Like, what do you want people walking away saying about the experience and what it did for them?
yeah. I mean, I think there's definitely that, I want them to have as much of a carefree experience as they can. Meaning, I want them to be able to have as much of an experience where they can just come out and be and enjoy, without the complexities of having to plan it all themselves. Um, but then, when you get past that, our ultimate mission is to train and equip every participant that comes on our trips, on these adventures, to challenge them, to grow them, to develop their skills, their confidence as an individual, as a leader, and to create this authentic relationship or community, among, whether it be their friends, whether it be the father and their kids. And ultimately, our ultimate goal is that some version of life change takes place. You can always go on something and be like, oh yeah, that was cool. I don't want that to be the experience. I want it to be where you come on it and you come back and you actually say, hey, here's the things that I'm going to do differently, because I went on this trip. And so there's certain things that we try to do in order to make that feasible. Like, we encourage people, hey, put your cell phones away.
Yeah.
I've been known to even, I keep a lockbox in my truck, and of course, you see my truck on the trailhead, there's probably a bunch of cell phones in there, but I mean, we'll take phones away from people if they're willing to give them up. And the point is I don't want them listening to music or a book or looking at pictures. I mean, they're not going to have cell service anyway. And we mentioned the 3-day effect earlier. I mean, there is something that happens in your mind when you have disconnected from technology for 3 days.
I
Um,
agree.
and like, we could get into the science and everything behind it, but There it is a really, I mean, I see it on our trips. You get to day 2 and people are starting to question, why are we out here? And then you get to day, or it's like, man, this is amazing, but this is a hard thing. And then you get to day 3 and they wake up with a newfound energy, and they're able to sense or hear different things or see different things that they didn't see before. And something as simple as, hey, wow, did you know that there's, these birds are around here? It's like, yeah, no, they've been there the whole time. So I think that's really cool, to watch people transition past that on that third day.
I agree. There's something about the reduction in stress and anxiety, I think, when
Yeah.
you give up your phone.
Yeah.
I think that that's huge. And then, continuing it with even being out in nature. I think there's something that I think there's something interesting that happens, like, when we're out in nature. And I'm not sure what it is. Like, I've heard, I've had John Eldridge on the podcast. He's a big outdoors guy. I've had other guys on the podcast who guide adventures and that kind of thing. But I've never really understood, from maybe an emotional or psychological aspect, like, why these, I would just say, these things happen to us, or these realizations, or like our senses are heightened, or I don't know what it is, or it creates like this just environment when you're with people of more psychological safety because we're in the same experience together. I don't know, but I'm curious. Is there anything that you know about that, as far as like what happens to us as human beings psychologically when we're out in nature?
Yeah, so I did a video. It's on YouTube somewhere. I could provide the link later. I did a video on the 3-day effect that actually explains what happens. I One of the things that I was talking to a guy he's an Army Ranger. He's a friend of mine, and he was we were comparing, like, I mean, the trips that we do and then the training that he's been through, and I was just picking his brain on, hey, what can we do to make these trips better, using your expertise. And one of the things that he was talking about is, the reason why the the reason why his rangers come out of you know their time, they come out, with that brotherhood, is because they'd been in the trenches. They'd fought together. They had climbed mountains together. They'd run in the same heat with the same packs. They'd experienced everything that was trying and testing, both mentally and physically. And he said that, outside of, while your life isn't on the line on an equipped outdoors trip, at least that's our goal, is that your life isn't on the line, where where it is in his world, that shared experience that takes you, depending on what trip you go on, I mean, that shared experience that takes you to almost that physical breaking point, and then working with other people together to conquer that, it makes a world of difference. And so I think does that make sense? I mean, I think that's a huge component to it. And then there's also, there's a part of your brain that only engages when technology isn't engaged. And so, but it takes a while to, almost like, we have to detox our bodies from different things that we eat, and the like minerals or whatever it might be. We have to detox our body. Well, it's similar with our brain. We have to just putting your phone down overnight doesn't do it. Going to the beach and not having your phone on the beach doesn't do it. There's something specific about, you have to, by essentially detoxing from technology, disconnecting for technology for greater than that 2 to 3 day period. That's when that part of your brain wakes up, and it allows you to actually start, being more, your senses become more alive. You start realizing things that you didn't realize before, that due date that you have for work doesn't matter as much anymore.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
I love that, man. It really simplifies things and it takes the distractions away. And the only thing that you can focus on are the things that are right there in front of you,
yeah,
right? And the people
yeah.
that are right there in front of you.
Yeah, is that that's point in time. That's all that really matters.
Right.
Uh, is that because there isn't anything else that you really have to worry about, which is the beauty of it.
Do you bring any of your kids along on these trips?
So my son and my 7-year old son and my 9-year old daughter have both been to Arkansas.
Awesome.
Um, so and they love it. They're always asking me when they get to go back. Um, Arkansas is pretty hot and humid in the summer, so we usually do those trips in the spring and the fall. But they're all year long. They're asking when they get to go back.
Is that something that you'll be doing, you think, in the future, is your kids will come along, as they get older?
That would be an amazing dream of mine. Yes, I think it would be amazing if one or both or all of them could participate, co-guide a trip with me someday. Just have that shared experience with me. Yeah, I would love that.
I think that's just such an amazing just opportunity to leverage our businesses and be able to give experiences to our kids. I've done the same in my business where anytime I travel for media, or if like I'm interviewing a celebrity or something like that, like I'll always bring one or two or sometimes all the kids with me, just so they can partake in just interacting with someone or just the experience or whatever else, and it's been a game changer. Um,
Yeah.
I would love to I'd love to go down the road of, what is still available for 2024, and then what do you have planned for 2025, so we give the audience a really good idea of what's coming up. I mean, obviously we know about the Wyoming trip in September, which sounds amazing, by the way. But what else do you have?
Yeah, well, to comment on your kids being involved, one of the things that whether they're able to go on the trips or not, you know, one of the things that I have, it's honestly some of the most fun for me is my kids all help me pack the packs, and they all know how to pack the packs, and so usually a couple nights before a trip, I'll have my 7-year old and my 9-year old, and sometimes even my 5-year old down there. We'll do inventory on everything, and they are very good at packing the packs. And the look on people's faces, like, "Hey, this was packed by a 5-year old. Good luck." Um, and I mean, the look on people's faces is pretty awesome. But yeah, like the importance of incorporating your kids in every single aspect of the business and the experience is a blast, and it's fun, and they absolutely love it. Even my 3-year old will walk around with a backpack on and nothing on it. He just like walks around, makes all over the place while we're packing. So
That's so cool.
yeah,
You
so
could always say packed by a 5-year-old, inspected by a 40-year-old.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, so no, the rest of this year, we leave for Glacier and this isn't on the website. This was just a random trip that popped up. We leave for Glacier on the 19th of August. That trip is full. Um, and then after we get back from Glacier, we have the Tetons in September, and then in October we have a father kid trip, and we also have just a individual and family trip in October as well down into Arkansas. And then November we have a the couples trip as well. So that's 24. So we have 5 trips left in 24,
Wow.
and 4 of those 5 have spots available on them. Um, Then fast forward into 25, I got a baby due in December, so there will be no January Grand Canyon trip.
Oh, really? Oh, that's yeah. I'm sure you want to stay married. So
Yeah, exactly. That's an investment in my marriage
right.
at that point in time. But then in March, we'll be returning to Arkansas, and then in June we'll actually be doing Colorado. So we'll be doing the Lost Creek Wilderness in Colorado again, and then the Maroon Bells. If we get interest, the Bells is amazing. The hard part is they started doing requiring permits for the Bells, and which is in Western Colorado, and so you have to get those permits pretty quick. So, and then we'll have we're hoping for one global trip next year. Um, Still working on the where. I don't want to share where yet, but it's gonna be pretty epic. Um, so, but there's three different locations that we're looking at. We're looking at Africa, Costa
Wow.
Rica, or South America, and that would be sometime next summer. And then just the typical Tetons in Arkansas again. So we'll see how that plays out. But that's, we're dreaming big and trying to plan some big stuff.
That is awesome, man. Um, I think what you're doing is so cool, and it's what the world really, really needs. I'm so glad, even though you're crazy busy, that you decided to step up and do this anyway. Because I think a lot of us would be like, well, I just don't have the time. I have 5 kids. I have this. I have that going on. But you really have, which I love. I love that because it's part of who you are, right? Because at this point in your life, you wouldn't do it otherwise, right? So it comes from this place of you really wanting to give an experience to other people, right? You want them to experience some of the connections that we've talked about, some of the moments that we've talked about, to build those core memories, for us to be on our deathbed, and that's something that we remember, right? And I love where your heart's at on this, man. It's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah. No,
Where
appreciate
and I know we already mentioned the website, but tell us where we can find this. I know it's equipoutdoors
it.
.org,
Yeah.
not
So
.com.
there's a D in there. So it's equipped
Oh,
outdoor.
equipped outdoors. Yeah, you're right. Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
Equipped
Yeah,
out. Yep. So yeah, so we have our website equippedoutdoors.org, and then we're on Facebook and social media, Facebook and Instagram, and we try to keep everything up to date. That's something that I'm working on trying to get better on, is getting that information out there. If you want to know about kind of some of the previous trips, I blog about each one of the trips, after most of them afterward, not all of them. But there's a past adventures page on the website where you can go and read about previous trips and different situations we got into, and how we got out of it and stuff like that. So that's kind of a fun thing to kind of experience it. I don't know if you had a chance to look at that yet, but it's kind of fun to read about that.
I'm actually looking at it right now. I'm looking at your past Tetons trip with these beautiful trout that these people are catching, the scenery, the mountains. Like, dude, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, there was that was a fun um that was a fun trip. We had a guy that got AMS, or acute mountain sickness, also known as altitude sickness. Um and he was all frustrated. He's like, "Man, it's going to ruin the trip for everybody. I don't want to go back." And one of the things that being in the outdoors and in these types of situations is it teaches you flexibility, and it's kind of forced flexibility. I build that into each one of the trips, and in this scenario, he was sick, and he it was there's only a couple ways to treat altitude sickness. It's either get off the mountain or take time and rest. And so we hung out at a lake for a whole day. We actually built a couch out of logs and branches, And that night we got to sit there on the couch. We built it so it leaned back a little bit, and just watched the stars, and counted satellites, and just had some awesome conversation about leadership and being involved in the world, and not stepping back and just ignoring what's going on. And yeah, it was really cool. But how often do you get to build a couch when you're 15 miles away from civilization? It was awesome. It'll be fun to go back next this year and see if it's still there. uh
That is so cool, man. I had Steven Ranella on from Meat Eater
oh yeah.
on the podcast, and he talked about exactly what you're talking about, which I think, like, if you take anything from, I think, an experience out in the wilderness, because we every time I've taken my kids out to something big, there's been something that challenged us. I don't think you can
Yep.
go out in nature that deep without a small challenge, but it's such a fantastic opportunity to learn something new, to do something new. Like, you guys all improvise. Like, you'll never forget building that couch, right? And
Yeah.
by the way, Naked and Afraid called, they want you to apply immediately. So, because
Yeah.
if you can build a couch out in the wilderness out of nothing, you probably should go on that show. So,
You don't want to see me naked in the outdoor.
oh, dude, yeah. Um, that is really, really cool. I know for us, we've always, when we're at high altitudes or we're out in the middle of the mountains or dispersed camping, in Colorado, which we've done, like, there's always been a slight little thing that's challenged us. But looking back on it, it's always like, hey man, do you remember how we worked together and we did that thing? And it was really, really cool.
Yeah.
Very awesome, man. I love what you're doing in the world. The world needs this. I mean, the more we can get off of screens and out into nature and experience something like this, like, you'll never remember, what you watched on, yeah, I'm talking more to the kids, right? You'll never remember what you watched on TikTok last week, but you'll remember being in the Tetons or in Wyoming or Arkansas with your kids or your spouse or your family or whatever, right? You'll
Yeah.
always remember that. Guys, I strongly encourage you to go check out Drew's website. Go check out some of his trips. Especially if you have a kid. Like I said, that statistic doesn't lie. 80% of our one-on-one time with our kids is gone by the time they're 12. The time to strike is now. Take it from me. I've got a 16 and an 18-year-old. Luckily, they still want to spend time with me, but there's more complexity. There's more challenges to do it now because they have their sports, they have their schools, they both have girlfriends now, they both have friends. So you're fighting for the attention versus, like, my 10-year-old and 8-year-old. Like, I could just go out in the family room right now and they'll want to play, right? So don't take that for granted. Whether you got a little one or an older one, take them to something like this. It will serve you immensely down the road, and it'll probably tighten a bond and deepen a relationship more than you can possibly imagine. And for those of you guys who have spent a lot of time in the outdoors with your kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, Drew, as we wrap up here, I would love for you to just, you're a dad of four. You've been married for 16 years. Being a dad of four, full-time job, doing this on the side as well. You don't have functional relationships in your marriage or with your kids without doing the right things. So if you could end the show with giving us any advice of things that you do in particular that really move the needle for you and your kids, and you and your wife, what would those things be?
Yeah, no, I think the way you asked the question is interesting. And it's we're all busy. I think everyone is busy in some way, shape, or form. And we make I think the truth is, though, we make time for the things that are important to us. And something that I used to hate hearing, as a kid was, hey, not right now, I'm busy.
Yeah.
And I feel like every time I say that to my kids, because I'm by no means have figured it out at all. I could bring all four of them up here and they would attest to that. But I think the thing that I used to hate hearing as a kid was, hey, Drew, not now, I'm busy. And
Yeah.
so I think the guys that I look up to the most are the guys that say, hey, no matter what, my I know that my job is to raise these little people. God has put these little people in my life to be And he has plans for them. And I have a job. I've been entrusted with a job to raise them. And so, I mean, I think the thing that I would say is, you are, you make time for what's important to you. And so whether you're incorporating them into your work or your daily life, there's the time to rest is never now. I mean, I think is the key. I mean, we all need to rest. That's why, these trips are awesome because you get to rest there. But when you're at home, when you're with your family, it is, it's so important. And I'm speaking to myself, it's so important to make sure that that you are intentional to spend time. And kids don't want stuff. Kids have so much stuff, and now more than ever,
Yeah,
the thing that they want is time and intention. And so it's, what are you doing to provide time and intention to each one of your kids and meeting them where they are, not forcing them to like the things that you like.
I agree with that 100%. It's like you can bring them. I think it's important to somehow, some way bring them into our ecosystem.
Yeah,
But I also think it's really more important that we enter into an ecosystem together,
yeah.
or they are taking the lead and we are entering into their world, which I think is really, really important as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, you can definitely jump into their world. But part of your job as a parent is to introduce them to into new things.
Right.
And ultimately, despite what our teenagers think, I mean, or my 9-year old or whatever, like, we do actually know more than them.
Shocking, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I think it's so important to introduce them to those things. But also be patient with them, be flexible, and then just have fun, right? I think I have to remind myself that all the time. Like, you have to have fun,
You
and
do.
if you're not, then you're missing part of the joy of being a parent, of growing up. So
I 100% agree, man. Thank you for what you're doing in the world, man. This is so cool. I'm really, really proud to have you on the podcast.
yeah, thank you.
Especially for someone who, quite frankly, like, probably has all the excuses in the world not to do something like this. I mean, but with how busy you are and you're still making time to do this, to give this, it's incredible. Like, it's incredible. Like, and I think a lot of people really need to take a look at this, and see what's available. If you guys want, like I said, go to Equipped, and that's with a D, EQUIPPED outdoors.org. Head on over there and you'll actually see the upcoming trips tab. You'll also see the past trip tabs, all the amazing photos and the amazing adventures that Drew is hosting here. And you might want to take advantage of this before he has his next kid here in December. So pull the trigger and go on an adventure in 2024. There's still plenty of time. Um, I know, to be honest, dude, in the probably 2025, I am going to be booking a trip with you as well, with one or two of my kids. So,
Be awesome
eh,
to have you, definitely.
dude, I can't wait. Like, this is right up my alley. So you definitely have a future customer in me, without a doubt.
Awesome. No, it'd
Yeah,
be great. We'd love to have you, and thanks a lot for having me on.
you bet. Anytime, brother. Gentlemen, all you have to do is head on over to thedadedge.com/487 for this show. Again, thedadedge.com/487 for this show. You'll find all the links, his Drew's Instagram, as well as his website, as well as his upcoming trips and all that good stuff. So make you super, super easy to find. And like I said, take advantage, right? Our time is limited, right? Limited. We might think we have 18 summers with our kids. Take it from me, who has an 18 and 16-year-old. You kind of don't, right? So strike while the iron's hot. So again, Drew, from my heart to yours, and from all the guys in the audience who just loved hearing from you today, thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
You bet.